God and love and this mixture and this adventure we call life, God and love, and what is God and who is God and what is love. And all those questions are continuously asked in these questions and in these moments. And it's Easter, and we're reading from Martin Luther King, and we're reading about Jesus, and we're reading about the Bible. But who are we? We are an open community that embraces all religion, that embraces all paths, and with the deep knowing that all paths deliver us to this path of love. That we connect through culture, through religious history, through human history, in the backgrounds of our lives, through our religions. But in the intention of Ernest Holmes, who brought us to this moment today in many ways, the intention was that this was the holy center. The blessing of love would be here for all to experience, no matter what the tradition carried them here on. And so today, we're invoking Martin Luther King, partly because it was a beautiful Easter service, partly because the memorial of his death is this week, partly because we are talking today about Holy Week and about the culmination of Holy Week and the allegory that is for life. That yes, if you are one of the Aramaic traditions, that will make sense to you and have deep prayers from your childhood and things that you draw forward from yourself. But if you're not from that, the allegory, the story also prevails. That through this week, that in the life of Jesus, in the story of Jesus, he comes to the hardest imaginable things that any of us can imagine. To be betrayed by your closest allies, to be turned in, to be given up, to be denied, and to be nailed humanly, physically to a cross. Holy shit, actually, was just coming out of my mouth. Like, oh my God, can you believe that happened to this one human? How did he survive? How do we survive? If you turn within, remember that week in your life. Where is it? It might not have been this Holy Week. What week did you feel abandoned, abused, discarded, alone on the cross? And sitting here today, you realize and you acknowledge that there was something else, that you hung on through that moment. And Martin Luther King talks about this in another place in this same sermon. You hung on through the moment of the crisis of whatever death, and it could have been a death to a part of your ego, it could have been a death to a part of your life, it could have been a death on the outside of you of a child, could have been a death of anyone in your life. Whatever it was that brought you to your knees, we all know it. And today, what I would really like to do, in the theater, they call it breaking the fourth wall. What that means is that you and I and we are one. And what we've learned since the time of Jesus and the way that it was set down as a on high and a down low, that actually, truly, all of this exists within ourselves. That we are truly crawling on the grounds of despair sometimes. And we are also truly touched directly through the light. No intermediaries necessary. No intermediaries necessary. So we go back to Friday. And there's one funny thing about this story. Excuse me, it really moves me, as you can see. There's one funny thing about the way this story is told in most Christian churches, and most churches this morning. is there's a very, very important person who gets left out. She's in the Gospels, but she never makes it into the Easter story for some reason. She is the only person who was still at the cross when Jesus died. And that is Mary Magdalene. Now, speaking of stories, some of you will have opinions about what I'm about to say, so you might want to watch those and where they take you. And some of you will either connect with me or disconnect, or as a choice, but because of this story I'm about to tell you. But what I'd like you to do is try to stay present, like we did in our affirmation, right? I'm present. I'm here. I'm available. Can I learn something here? Can I grow? So I was part of a very big experience. It was a year-long transformational process. And the very end of that process was a week-long, very deep process for all of us to go through. And we had been exploring the 7 chakras, and the week-long process was for the 8th. And during that week, my sister who had passed came to me in these words, and I remembered them from the time that she was passing. And the words were, "Mary is dying." Bless you. My sister's name was Mary Elizabeth, and she was always called Elizabeth. And what she was saying to us at the end was, Elizabeth is fine. Mary is dying. And I could not figure out what that meant until that week. What it meant to me that week was that we were letting the presence of Mary on this planet die. The feminine. My sister herself, just as Jesus himself, was okay and moving through a bodily experience. But what she was trying to direct my attention to was that Mary, that feminine essence, was being left out of the story. Mary was dying. What were we going to do about that? That was a powerful message. It took me 16 years to receive that message. For 16 years, I had no idea what she meant. But the truth is, approaching her death was a very big Good Friday experience for me. We had had a rather large argument, and she had told me that she would decide if she was going to forgive me or not for my whole life. Not just like one thing, for everything. We're twins. Okay. So I had left it because I knew that there was a wisdom that was teaching her and me something through this space. I lived in California. She lived in Washington, D.C. And then she suddenly, one day, started to die. And I had a very small child, 2 other kids, and no babysitter. And I didn't care. And I was new in my town, and I took my kids, and I literally put them with someone I barely knew, and I said, bless you, and I'm out. And I got to LA, and I got on the plane in the middle of the night, and I got there, and I got her home from the hospital, and she was beyond speaking and beyond seeing. She wasn't taking me in. It wasn't like I had a chance to talk to her and have a final, and I was beside myself. This was a moment for me that, like no other. I was beside myself, and I didn't know what to do. So I found myself whispering in her ear and kind of slightly shaking her. Don't judge me. Kind of slightly shaking her. Don't die. Like I was serious. Don't die. Because I had no idea how I was going to be okay if she didn't forgive me before she died. Because I was not okay, and I was not okay. And then I started talking louder. I was like, no, you will not die. And there was nothing I could get from her. I could not get anything from her. Not one tiny acknowledgement that my essence was expressing itself wholly to her. No, nothing. And that was the most torturous 24 hours of my life. And I sat with it, 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 and I had no idea. And this is the Mary is dying, I'm okay, had just come before this, no idea what this meant. And I'm sitting there in this room, and I am like, I do not know what to do. And all of a sudden, in the holy instant of release, I do not know what to do. Me, the human person. How many of us have come up to that moment? I do not know what to do. When I fall on my knees to the face to the rising sun, oh Lord, have mercy on me. Right? I was on my knees beside her bed, alone in the middle of the night. Well, thank goodness, because as a very traditional family, if I had not been alone, this never would have happened. I never crossed the line of what I was allowed to do. But the word came down through the open fourth wall, where God was right in the present moment. Love was in the present moment. Everything, all the magnificence of the holy instant opened up and said, get in bed with her. I was like, no. I don't do that. We don't do that. We don't do that. That's not cool in my family. Get in bed. Finally, I surrendered, right? There was nothing else to do. I put my arms around her. And in the only way she could communicate through the life that was leaving her body, love. A love more powerful than you can ever imagine, unless, of course, you have been on your knees too, which many, if not all of you have. This is the breaking down of the story of our humanness. We are divine. We are one, we are whole. This massive influx of energy that poured through my body, and of course hers, filled us in the complete despair of the moment before. In the instant of that, all light. It was a gift that I was supposed to receive, and it came through a very hard experience. So what we're doing in Easter week, what we're doing is falling on our knees around something that broke our hearts. And if you're a Christian, then it would be the loss of Jesus. That is the idea that it's outside of you, and this is where love lives, and this is where love lasts. And then you have to break it down because your heart is so broken. And there is Mary Magdalene laying at the bottom of the cross, heaving sobs, for everything that she knows and loves is now gone. And the reason I know this isn't because, and this is the part where you might judge me and leave mentally or emotionally or something, is that in that week, 16 years after that event, I had the whole experience. I had the whole experience in a room, call it what you will. Past life, imagination, imaginal realms, whatever we want to call it, the collapse of the universe. It was there, right there in that moment, delivered to me again, was the moment of complete grief, of the breakdown of anything that separates me from God. And the holiness pours through again. Now for Mary, the journey lasts 2 days. And distraught and battling, she does not give up. She goes to dress his body and finds the life of love fully expressing itself. So the story of Jesus and Mary is not necessarily a story you have to accept as a truth in your life, but the allegory of the way that we go and what we receive when we break down and release is this massive, massive field of love. It is the operating force of the universe. It is what gives us absolutely everything. And so if you are not sure, and if you haven't had this moment, it's completely okay. And there are other ways to walk in. And when Martin Luther King says, from this darkness, things are lifted up, but there's no how in there. The how is the release. The release might look like forgiveness. That's what some people put that word on. But the word is release. The word is letting go. The word is knowing. You think you know. What you think you know will break someday. And you will find yourself on your knees. At the very least, on your knees. if not on your face. And when you're in that place, know that you are not alone. Know, then fight through it. Fight through it to know. And this is where trust and faith come in. I see there is something beyond me. So we can call it infinite intelligence. We can call it love. We can call it anything we want, but it's the source of all life that is teeming in the expansion of this universe in all realms of light and love. You are one with it. There is no fourth wall. And as Mary Magdalene opens, rolls away this tombstone, the stone from the tomb, and looks in the garden, mistakes this apparition of Jesus for the gardener, and then realizes she is being visited by the one. When two or more are gathered, the holiness is here. And so the invitation today is finding that place in our life, even if it's a small place that makes us wonder, that makes us ask the question, do I really know? Am I really right about this? Could I really see this more lovingly? As a congregation, this congregation has been through a few iterations of things that sort of look like this, and in some ways through it now. And here we are in the moment of finding our way and in all the creativity that we can muster and making it all happen and reaching out to each other and reaching back in and fighting and getting mad and doing our thing, right? Being opinionated, all of it. And yet it starts to appear as love. And every time we choose love, every time we come back together, every time we stand in the knowing that there is more than what is showing. I can show me in this moment. I can be everything in this moment. Not me only, me and you and me, all of us as one. When we come together, we are the only thing that is, the enduring force of the universe. We are love. Love is all there is, the animating force of a self-sustaining, beautiful, unfolding experience we call life. We come in and out of this in many, many ways. And we just allow ourselves today to settle into that which is coming from, that which is coming to, that who we are, that which it is, and making it all in the swirling oneness of life touch us. And let it be. And so it is. And we just take this moment to pray together, knowing that everything here is in this divine power of love. Everything is included in this field of love, and there is no other true power everywhere. And that each and every person here, each and every person everywhere, each and every being of life, every rock, every tree, every blade of grass joins us as one with this. And when we know within ourselves that the term each other means nothing to us, then we will have come into the full completion of this prayer as our humanness fades away and the wholeness of who we are stands strong. In this place of realization, we know ourselves to be one in divine health and wholeness, in abundance and grace, in magnificence. Let us accept all of that truth about ourselves here and now, today, in the deepest gratitude that we can muster. Let us say yes, 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 and release this prayer and let ourselves be filled with all the light, love, and fullness that we can muster with each other, with the music, with the dance, with the flow of life, with the Easter bunnies, and with everything else. God bless you. I love you. And so it is. Thank you.